Thank you for showing up today and filming this episode with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, speaking of which,
all right. Welcome back to the latest episode of Game Day Glare. I'm Lance. I'm with E. This is the podcast for sports videographers. How you doing, E?
really good. The sun is up. It seems like it's outdoor drinking time. So hopefully it stays that way, because yesterday I think it was snowing. But yeah, so far so good. What about you?
You're like the weatherman on our show. You keep all our audiences up to date with the shitty ass weather we have here in Montreal this year.
That's what old people do. They talk about the weather. So that's why I'm
that's it. Well, today we're not talking about the weather, okay? Today is actually a big episode. It is episode 100. So that's like 100 times you and I have met up, press record, and talked about sports videography, cameras. We talk a lot about other stuff that we don't press record. But 100 episodes and 2 years. We did have our 2-year anniversary 2 weeks ago. We didn't do an episode on it because we knew 100 was around the corner. But yeah, it's kind of crazy, no? Like for me personally, it's gone by pretty fast. It doesn't feel like it's 100 episodes and 2 years. I still it still feels like the beginning of this for me. I'm not as nervous anymore, but I'm definitely not 100% used to it. What about you?
Yeah, same. I mean, it's like everything's been a bit of a blur, and since coming back to Montreal and then working on my channel full time and doing the podcast, and so it's hard to keep track of like what happened when and how long it's been. But yeah, it's when you put it in numbers like that, you're like, oh yeah, it's true. It's it's been a while, and there's been a fair few of those episodes. So like it's good to hit a milestone like that, to remind yourself of where you come from.
That's it. I mean, we start at the bottom. The only place is to go up. But yeah, 100 episodes. It's pretty crazy. I mean, you and I do have some busy schedules, but somehow every week we make time to meet and produce an episode. We're very, very consistent. Every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Boom, our shows are launched. It is a challenge because sometimes
you were talking about the recording. I was like, I'm not sure we're that consistent. But.
No, not the recordings. The recordings, I mean, listen, sometimes we batch capture, sometimes we record late at night, sometimes we record early in the morning. I basically do recordings off of E's schedule. I'm a little bit more flexible. E, he's a busy guy. Sometimes he sleeps in, sometimes he's late out at night. So I kind of go around what E could do, I'm at your mercy, buddy. Thank you for showing up today and filming this episode with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, speaking of which,
that's it. And for the 100th episode, I didn't even get a text before being like, "Yeah, I'll be 15 minutes late." Like, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
I'm a professional.
So
sometimes,
yeah, exactly. So before we get into the episode, actually of 100 and going down memory lane and catching guys up on some stuff, we started a new section. It's like we want to talk about equipment. So the first piece of equipment I do want to talk about is the Ulanzi JJ06 that they sent last week. Now I've been testing this tripod. I'm actually using it all weekend too in a sporting event. But I just want to show you guys one of the coolest features that it actually has. I was showing E. It has this actual top-down view that you could do, and it's very, very simple. I don't know if you can see here, and just slides back in, boom. So carbon fiber, honestly, very versatile. It is going to be my new travel tripod. And E, it would even be good for you because it goes all the way up to 6'1". So you're a tall guy. You're like 6'3.5", almost 6'4". So height-wise for you, I think it's really good. It has a fluid head. You could change angles. You could do whatever you want. And when you're in the top end too, you get to move it. But the most exciting piece that I found, watch this. It has a built-in screwdriver in the handle of all the little pieces. Yeah, so how many times I go on shoots and I need a little piece and I got to go in my toolkit in my bag? Well, no, now it's already on my tripod handle. So wow, it has everything. And the little quick release plate is really, really good too. It works really, really well. At first, when I got it, I wasn't really sure, but you just press a button, it pops off, pop it back on, and there's a little slide to the left. It's locked. It can hold up to like 5.5 pounds. So like, your FX3, your A75, your 35 150, all these things are good on it if you need it. So not very, very happy with it. And it works on the F38 system, is the actual like quick release.
Yeah.
So
So you
I
could
mean,
use it on. You could like just pop it off of the tripod and attach it to like something else that has the same system. You wouldn't have to unscrew it and put a different thing.
exactly. But I mean, the key features are it's lightweight, quick release system. It's perfect for travel. You got the top down shot. You could do low shots. Like, it covers everything, and especially with the fluid head too, you can use it for sports. So for me, it checks all my boxes. I'll upload a clip this week of me actually using it in the field. But thank you, Ulanzi, and you just gave me my new favorite tripod. What about you? Got any gear or anything you're trying out, E?
No, not at the moment. I'm waiting. I'm supposed to receive a couple things, but sometimes it takes months to arrive. I'm not too sure why, so I don't want to get into it if it never never happens. But because sometimes that happens too. But not at the moment. Just working on the more of a consistency and trying to get as many videos out as possible is pretty much my priority.
There is one other thing that I have been trying. So I dabble in AI. Ian and I talk about AI sometimes. So I tried making my own app through Base 44. I've been trying, and basically the idea of the program. This is not sponsored by Base 44, but you give out what you want to do in your app, create it, and it creates it for you. So I thought I would be smart, and since we share the same accountant, I said I'm going to make an accounting app where I could just like upload all my stuff nice and easy and make this not complicated. Well, I did the exact opposite. I made it so damn complicated, I had to delete my app and start all over, and I'm still not happy. So I'm having some trouble with it. But I did make a client funnel, a client to tracking app for one of my clients, and I made one for myself, and that worked very, very good. So it shows me like warm leads, hot leads, who I send out emails to. It keeps track of everything. So I don't know. AI, even though, yes, we always talk about sports and we talk about videographies, AI can help you in other aspects of your business. So I'm trying to get AI to help me with other aspects of my business. Some of it's working, some of it's not. But hey, I'm trying.
Yeah. Oh, smart. I didn't know you could build apps with AI. I had no idea.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I already, you get like 250 messages back and forth. I went through all of them because I was not happy with my app. And anyway, it is what it is. So now I gotta wait. I'm on a timeout until I get more credits back. And that's the problem with some of these AI stuff. It's like you get so many credits and it's not like unlimited. So I don't know. Anyway, that's what's going on with me.
Jeez, you've been busy.
Yeah, actually, I have been, and this week I got filming sports all weekend, and the Habs are on their final road stand before the playoffs. We clinched the playoffs, so I got NHL playoffs coming in. So yeah, I'm going to be pretty busy, and you too. You've been doing some sports on the side, starting to. So it's starting to pick up now that spring's coming. I find anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like by the end of the month, like I don't know, like soccer's back. We'll be back. Football will start. There'll be a bit more action. I think like March, April is kind of a bit of a dead zone in Montreal anyway. But soon enough there'll be even more stuff going on, and that's kind of my goal, like to just get out there and film a lot more than I probably did last year, and get more content. I'm getting tired of reusing clips from previous events that I've been at and things like that. So I want to make the most of what's available to me.
All right, so I have a question for you. Are you wearing the Habs hat because we clinched the playoffs?
No, I don't know.
No?
Felt like a Habs hat day.
Okay. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, so back to 100 episodes. I'm gonna throw it out there that doing a podcast helped me be uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable for me helped me grow. Help me grow a bit. What anything stand out for you in after doing 100 podcasts, E?
Well, I think for me, it wasn't really the comfortable part, but it's more about being able to sound to sound good, like talking live. So the thing is, like when I do my videos, most of the time, I'll not that I'll script it word for word, but I'll have a script of everything that I want to talk about in the video, because I make a video and then I start editing. It's like, oh, I should have said this, or I forgot to talk about that, or so I make sure like I have all my key talking points while I'm filming. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. Where when I do the podcast, well, first of all, you're the one that does all the preparation, so I don't do much research. But then yeah, it's more of like, talking live and just like trying to explain stuff, which I'm not great at. Like I ramble a lot, and I sometimes I don't know like the words to say what I'm trying to say, kind of like right now. And so basically doing 100 episodes, like I'm not great at it, but I think I'm much better than I was like 100 episodes ago. So yeah, I think it definitely helped me from that perspective, like just to be able to. And I think because of that, like recently I've been doing a few more videos where unless I'm doing like a specific, like a review or something like that, like I'm doing more and more videos where I'm just talking freely to the camera and just winging it, kind of, talking about my opinions on stuff, or talking about my career in general. Like I don't write it down or trying to overthink what I'm supposed to be doing. I just go and do it. And that's probably because of the podcast.
Yeah, you know, talking in front of the camera is getting easier for me, but like when I record videos on my own on the side, I find it a lot harder than this. Because when I have this, I have you, so I'm talking to you, right? But when I'm just looking at the camera, I'm talking to the camera, I find it harder, but it is getting easier because of all this practice that we have. And especially now when I have meetings with clients and that, and you pop out the mic, you pop out the camera, it kind of gives you a little bit more authority, I find, and I'm not nervous in meetings. I'm like, taking control of what I need to control. And even my clients have kind of said like, "Oh, it's like we're on your podcast," and they make jokes about it, but you could see that I'm comfortable now talking in this setting where 99 episodes ago, no. No, like we did. I remember we did our first episode. We didn't even publish it. We just did like a dry run just to see how it was going to be, how everything was going to do. We took a clip or two from it, and then we did our first episode. So it has taught me a lot, and and also just in my office, like you too. Now your office is set up for your YouTube. Like I have lights in place. I have lights for clients, and I have lights for me. Where these two lights here, I just flick them on, and I'm ready to go anytime. So that's something that I really want to build out before we start this podcast, because I was searching for a way to show authority in the space. And, I was starting a new business and I want to get some content out there. So for me, this podcast was a no brainer, but it's helped me in so many other ways I couldn't imagine because of doing the podcast.
No, it's a good point. And I think like for me also, like in terms of like opportunities, like I've been talking with Sony to potentially, like I told you about it, like um doing like conferences around sports videography for them when they do these collabs with these camera stores here in Montreal. And I think that that's something that if I'd never done the podcast, I would be way more scared of, because I always record by myself in front of the camera. I can make mistakes and, do it again, things like that. But having done the podcast, like kind of gave me the confidence that I can talk for 45 minutes about sports videography, and it's not going to be that hard as long as I've got, a little PowerPoint thingy keeping me on track. I should be fine. So yeah, it's definitely a helpful exercise, which I think anybody who are trying to become a bit of an expert in their field, or just be comfortable talking, is because if ultimately you want to go down the educational route, just having a podcast, just like either by yourself or the way we do it, even if you're not getting tons of views, it's definitely going to help you with your presentation, with your the way you speak to people, the way you kind of make it easy for people to understand. You not that you that we dumb it down or anything like that, but just talk about it in a way that is easy to understand. It's not getting too technical, especially that we're talking. Like, it's not like there's visuals. Like in my YouTube videos, I can talk, but then use B-roll to make it obvious. But when there's no B-roll, you kind of have to be, clear about what you're saying. So yeah, doing a podcast is very helpful and on many levels.
It really is. I forget what I was gonna say. I had a good one-liner for you when you were saying I had something, but it's gone now. It's gone. That moment's gone. Sorry, guys. The one thing though, you said like it takes 45 minutes. The thing that we'll let you guys in is E and I never do this in 45 minutes. We talk before for 45 minutes, then record for 45 minutes. And then we always like wrap up with a good half hour when we're done talking. And I'm constantly getting in trouble from my wife saying like, how come your podcast took 2 hours? I'm like, actually it's only 45 minutes, but me and E were talking about life and about cameras.
By the way.
She doesn't listen, so I'm okay. I hope she doesn't listen. If not, I'm in more trouble. Yeah. And then she's always like, oh, that E, he's so good looking. Always. She always says that same comment.
That does sound like it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So E, I'll ask you then. We've had a lot of guests on this show and that. So far, what guest has stood out the most for you, or maybe taught you something you didn't know?
Well, I think stood out in a way was probably the OKC guys, because of all the insight that they were bringing from because like all the Canadian guys, like I already knew them kind of like, so it's like I already know what they do already. They're kind of part of my world to a certain extent, even though most of them are based in Toronto. Where with the OKC guys, it was cool to get that perspective of like being part of an NBA team and giving, and I'm excited about giving that value to the listeners and viewers, because it's something that I often talk about in my videos, but I haven't been part of any NBA team in a very long time, so I can only assume that things have changed tremendously. So yeah, to get that insight and to get that direct access to like tell us what your day is like, how does it go during the playoffs and all these different things. Tell us about that particular moment, especially being part of a championship team. Like, that was pretty cool to have that insight on the podcast. And but learning, if we go straight to like learning something new, I think like what was fun was 48 Cuts, like what's his name again? Like
Kyle. Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle, exactly. So he's like a motorsports, motocross racing and all that sort of stuff. And well, he does hockey, basketball as well, but it was just like such a different world. So to learn from him, like the racing world, like how does it work and like what type of access does he have, and the type of like the filming techniques and what is like his game day looks like compared to ours, which is completely different. So that was I had a lot of questions, and I was really interested about all this stuff that he was talking about, because like if I'm ever in that situation, well, I've been once, but it was just a one-off. But yeah, it was very interesting to learn photography as well. When we got Gavin, the sports photographer, it was a similar thing where it's like it's such a different world from mine that I have a lot of questions, and I become kind of one of the viewers, and I just want to learn and make the most of that person being on the podcast to try to soak in as much info as I can.
The thing about the podcast, it's open up communications with a lot of people outside of our circle. And I think for me, that's the thing that I like the most is, when I get messages from viewers, asking for insight or asking, or even like to meet Kyle, like a viewer wrote us and said, hey, I got this friend, he's the Dirt King, message him, he'll come on the show. So we reached out that way and that. But for me, it was interesting when we had other YouTubers on. like Juan or Peter, because I got to see you in your element. I'm not a YouTuber, so I cannot relate, at least not yet. I do have my channel, but like it's only clips still. I still never sat down and actually put the work in. But seeing how those guys looked up to you and how you helped them start their journey, that was really neat for me to see that. And I know it was probably cool for you to hear it, but for me to actually just be part of that and kind of see how your experience in Australia, when you started your own channel, and how you kind of help those guys, guide those guys in their new journey. So for me, that was really really cool. I enjoy having my friends from the Habs on too, to give you guys a little bit of insight of what it's like to work at the Canadiens, because we all have different roles and we've all worked together so long. So for me, it's always nice to have those people there, especially I see them later on at work too. So we joke about it and they're always like, "Hey Lance, when am I coming back on the podcast?" Because now we had from OKC on twice now, John on twice. From OKC, so I got to have Shafiq back on, and then I'm having one of my other friends on from the Habs eventually too. So it is nice when I have my old friends on that, but it's always really amazing that this podcast reaches new friends and new people. And for me, that's the biggest takeaway is, I didn't value it when I was younger. Was like making these contacts in this industry and sharing all this knowledge and all that, because there's kind of like this passing of the guard. And when I first started, not everybody shared information like they do now. And I really try hard to give people what I really wanted when I was starting. Because I remember being this 21-year-old in the middle of the outfield during an Expos game, and not really knowing much about what I'm doing with this camera, what's expected of me, and kind of learning the ropes slowly. So if you can learn from people who've already had the experience, then do it, because it will just help you go further in your career.
No, it's a good point. I think that's the whole purpose of the podcast. And that's why we do it. Like, it's the idea is to give. Well, that's why I do my my channel as well. Like, the idea is to give like a younger version of ourselves the opportunity to see a path to what they're trying to achieve. So, which is kind of it's one of the things that I kind of struggle with sometimes, because it's like the path that I went through years ago, because the industry evolves so quickly that my path is probably completely different from the opportunities that are here today. So it's hard to say, oh yeah, well, it's impossible to say do it the way I did it, because it's a completely different world. And in a way, it's much easier today in terms of like the opportunities that are before you, even just opportunities to practice. Like, I mean, there's so much youth sports, and cameras are so much more affordable and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, there's a lot more competition. Like, by like doing my mentorship, like I talk to people, or like, I show up to sporting events, and they all, like there's a bunch of like 17-year-old kids that will do what I do for like $50 or for free. So like and they're good. It's not like they're not good. Like, they're actually good. They're not at a place where they need money as much as I do. So it's like, how do you compete with that? So there's reasons why it's easier. There's also reasons why it's harder to make a living out of it. I mean, so yeah, it's interesting to talk to people, I guess, or to listen to people who've been through it and can kind of guide you and give you advice. But like I said, for me, the struggle is that my journey is completely different from theirs. But I can kind of see, I think with all my experience, I can still see kind of the big picture and see what are mistakes, what are the right things to do. And there's no guarantees, but I can definitely kind of guide you, and that's what we do basically, like try to guide people in a direction that in the long run will be successful if you stick to it, and you and yeah, you keep your head down and you work hard and you get better.
Well, that's it. The landscape's changed, right? Like, everybody can have, anyone can have an editing station at home now. If you have a laptop and you have Adobe Premiere or CapCut, people have, they're editing on their phones and stuff, where we didn't have those options. Or even like, look at this. We are hosting a podcast. I'm in my basement. You're in your living room. Back in the day, we would have to be in person. We would have to have these cameras set up. We need a 3-camera setup, mics. We'd have to be doing audio checks, all that. Now there's no excuse to not get content out there, because it is easier and easier to film. There is one more thing I want to talk about guests though, because I had it written down. on my list is one of the questions is who brought the best energy on our show? And for me, it was someone you brought on the show, CM De La Vega. I think he is a great guy. He's just so happy and so down to earth and one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. So I want to give him a shout out too, because when we talked to him, he gave me his After Effects course for free. I was able to try it out and I learned quite a bit of stuff about After Effects. I'm nowhere near as good as him, so don't. But I did learn some stuff from his After Effects course, and his energy and his positive attitude is unbelievable. So I want to give him a shout out because I did.
No, I agree. Yeah, I'd say I'd put Juan Morales in that category as well, just because he's such a good like natural like storyteller that like his answer is always like very there's it's a story every time, so it's very it's very fun to listen to him answer our questions. It feels like the answers are much better than the questions.
I was lucky because I got to meet Juan in person at the Four Nations Cup last year. So I was working for the in-house broadcast team, and he was working with the NHL, and we were running around. And every now and then we'd run into each other. And that we'd only got like 4 or 5 minutes every time we saw each other to chat fast, but it was always nice to see him. I do have a question though, E. So when did you feel like this podcast was actually like becoming something real? Did you have a moment that stands out to you where like, oh, I'm a YouTuber and a podcaster now?
Good question. I don't know. I think it's one of those things where whether it's a podcast or YouTube, there's never really a moment. It's just at some point you kind of look up and realize where you are and like, oh yeah, I do have this thing going on, and there are people watching, and there are comments, and there are sponsors talking to us and things like that. So it's just, but yeah, I don't know. I thought then for me, it's like I don't take anything for granted in life in general. So I'm never kind of, oh yeah, now I'm golden. I just have to keep doing what I'm doing now, and life will be good. Like I'm always trying to anticipate the future and adjust and adapt and make sure that I don't get left behind. So it's yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I ever really get that feeling of, oh yeah, now we've made it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't think we've made it, but I did have a feeling that, oh my God, okay, we do have something out there that people are watching. I have two instances. Once I went with my wife to Gosselin to pick up some memory cards, and I'm in the store, and this person comes up to me and they go, I know you from somewhere. So I said, oh, I don't know. I have a podcast. And he's like, yes, that's right. It's about sports. I said, yes. And I turned to my wife and I smiled, and my wife said, you think you're cool now. So that was the first time. And another time on our Instagram account, we had asked listeners to write in questions that we had for, how we do our agree, disagree episodes. And I was out on a Friday night one time, and my phone was on the table, and it was like buzzing. Like I got like a couple of messages. So my friends are like, oh, my friend made a joke like, oh, everyone's here. Who's messaging you? So I said, oh, it's my Instagram followers. And they're like, yeah. And I clicked it open, and it was all people writing in. Like there was about 6 messages. So I looked kind of cool in front of my friends. I made it sound like this happens all the time. It does not happen all the time. But that night I made it sound like, yeah, this is all the time. But it's only because we just had an episode saying send in your questions. So
yeah.
Anyway, those were the 2 moments.
I don't really get those moments because I do get recognized, but it's always at sporting events when I'm holding my camera working. So it's not like I've never been with my girlfriend or my friends and someone like stopped me on the street or like like you at the store. Like that moment never happened, even though I've been doing this for almost a decade now. But yeah, it's funny because I always feel like an imposter because I'll come back from a sporting event and say, oh yeah, like there was these kids started talking to me, and there was this girl who was like super excited about like asking me questions. There was this, there was that, but they never actually see it. Like it's just me saying, yeah, I met someone, and but no one's actually been there to see it. So sometimes I wonder if they think I'm full of shit. I'm just making up these stories to try to look more more popular than I really am. But I always say like I'm technically I am like internationally known because there are people like watching my videos all around the world. But I said like it's such a niche, a niche sort of thing that like for you to know me, you have to be, you know, a certain demographic, you have to be like certain age, I mean, and aspire to become a sports videographer and be the type of person that's going to go on YouTube to try to get better at it. And then, so there's a lot of boxes that you need to tick to actually know who I am. So I don't think that I'll ever reach a point where I'll be recognized at a restaurant. But when I'm watching and when I'm walking around with my camera in my hands at a sporting event, I'll get the AE or the double take, the things like that. And yeah, it's always fun actually to talk to people and realize that that yeah, there are people listening, and that they are like you know, like sometimes I remember like the first time it happened, I was still in Australia, and there's a kid that started talking to me because it was like an event, like it was like an outdoors basketball tournament, and so there was a lot of young videographers that had access, that were allowed to film and stuff. So there was a bunch of kids with cameras, and one of them started talking to me, and it's like the others sort of felt like, oh, now, like, because no one wanted to say anything, but once one person did it, the other one started. And then like the amount of guys that were like, yeah, I bought this camera because of you, like I bought it because you talked about it in your video and stuff. And it's like it was weird to see that, yeah, those advice that I give sometimes, like there's people listening and actually acting based upon that advice. So it's like it's a responsibility in a way, but it's also, to be honest, it made me more like, you would think that it scares you and that you don't want to recommend anything if it's not perfect, but it's kind of the opposite, where before that I was very wishy-washy with my advice. Like I would always say like, oh, you could do this, or you could potentially do that, but don't forget that this is what's going to happen, and you know there's pros and cons, and because I didn't want to be. But then I realized, like, you know, people are there because they want to know what you think, and just say it. Like, just say what you think, what you believe. Like when people ask me, like, what shutter speed that should I use in this situation, instead of writing a paragraph about how it depends, and you know, it depends on this, depends on that. And I say, like, what's your frame rate? I would use this. So that's it. Like maybe it's not the best thing, but it's what I use, and that's it. So like it kind of, you know, taught me to be more, yeah, specific, and give people, like, they come to me because they trust me and they want to have my opinion, or just know what I'm doing in general. So to meet people in person like that kind of gave me the you know the courage to be more to give my opinion, if even if it might be wrong at the end of the day.
Well, I've witnessed people recognize you at the Alouettes, at basketball games and stuff. So I can collaborate your stories. I do have a funny story though. It was around Christmas time. You had come to my house. You had dropped off a microphone for me, a shotgun mic, and then a couple days later, my son came home from his friend's house, and one of his friends is he's getting into sports videography, and he's like, Dad, Liam saw you on E's YouTube channel. E had a clip of you. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, so my friend Liam didn't know that you know E. So then my son's like, yeah, he was at my house the other day. So then his friend Liam's like, can I come over and talk to you? And do you think maybe I could talk to E one day? I'm like, sure, buddy, you can come by anytime. But so you're like a quasi celebrity to my son's friend there. Okay. That, you know, he watches your stuff and that. And I told him it's a great channel. And then I made sure that he listens to the podcast too, because it's not all about beyond the game, you know. All right, so let's give you guys a little inside behind the scenes of what really goes on. So we prep, we record, we edit, we do clips, and most of all, we try to help you guys. And you know, E and I, it's a good hour where we get to catch up. So E, what's probably the most underestimated part about being a podcaster?
I think it's the consistency and the yeah, because it does, you know, it's not like being podcaster is either of us is a full-time job. So it's finding the time every week to either film or edit or both, depending on the week, because we kind of alternate for the editing. But but yeah, it's being able to take time out to do that in a consistent way and being able to post every week and all that sort of stuff. Like people think, it's an hour of your time. How hard can it be? But it's an hour of recording, probably 3 hours, 2 hours, I'd say total of like you and me talking. And then before that, there's my setup. And then after that, I kind of need a break. So it's a big chunk of my day that's dedicated every time we film, and I have to be home. I have to, I got to make sure that my setup is ready to go, all that sort of stuff. So it's a commitment that seems like, it's like we talked off air before, like, clients, they'll hire you for like an event that's like an hour or two, and they think it's just an hour or two, but like it's more than that. And then so same thing applies to the podcast. So that's, to me, is the most underrated thing. Is like, a lot of people, that's why most podcasts fail. It's because people think that it's going to be, it's just us, tuning in, chatting for an hour, tuning out, and then you just post it as is. There's no real editing that goes into this, because it's a podcast. We're just talking. But then you realize that there's a lot more work and there's a lot more time that needs to go into it. So as soon as you get a bit busy, the podcast goes away. So yeah, the fact that we've managed to go up to 100 shows that, because there's a famous quote. It's like, it's hard work to make something look easy, and I think that's what it is.
I guess underestimating the time that goes into it, because the challenging part too, I find the editing isn't so bad because we're lucky, we're both video editors and we alternate most of the time. So I can edit the podcast in like half hour now, where it used to take me like minute per minute. Now I'm pretty good. Um, but it's posting all the social clips too. Like we have some help with Opus Clip and stuff, but actually posting it, because on Instagram it's harder since we collab on them. You can't schedule it like you can on YouTube, where that's like a live post. So that part is a lot harder. Where on YouTube, like I just upload the clips ahead of time. Like on Monday mornings, I'll put like a bunch of clips. I'll program them all, and they're good to go. Where on Instagram, it's more of a live push. So that's a little bit challenging. And I think one of the most challenging parts that people don't realize too is making sure that we come up with the relevant stuff to talk about week after week. I mean, there are some subjects that you can repeat because things change and all that, but we don't always want to talk about the same stuff. And, people think that sports videography is you're just filming sports, but there's a business behind it too. And we try to touch on those business parts. And the reason why we touch on those business parts is because they're things that we struggle with also. Like, even though we're professionals and we've been doing this for a long, long time, we still have to go out sometimes and get new clients, or send bills, or chase people for money, or come up with new ideas or new pitches, or test new gear or buy new gear and all that stuff. So we try and let you guys in on what it's like for us too, because you might be having those same struggles and you feel like you're alone. Because when I did, step into this business, I felt alone at first, and having UE help me. Like I still remember our first phone call. You were back. I'm like, all right, let's go for lunch. And I said, I want to have this idea about a podcast. And you were like, okay, yeah. And then we had lunch. We pitched the idea, and we've never looked back. But for me, you've helped me grow my business because I have you. So like, we work together on some shoots, and that's really helped too, because I can trust you. I don't have to worry. We come up with a game plan. You go do your thing. I do my thing. You're one of the few guys that I know that I could just be like, here, edit this project. These are the demands. Go for it. I don't have to worry, where it's not like training a new employee. Yeah, maybe you come at a premium rate, but I think you're worth it. So we're okay there. But having that friend, and like even this podcast, it's so comfortable just talking to you back and forth. And for me, that's something that I don't think people realize. Like, this is us. This isn't scripted. This isn't acting. This is how we are together. If you're in my backyard and we're having a beer, or we're at a restaurant, this is how we are together. And I was very, very lucky that you became my office mate, and then you became my friend. And even though you moved away for years and that, we always still kept in touch, and it worked out. And that's why, for when I was thinking about this podcast idea, you were the perfect choice, because we had so much in common. And it helped that you already had a big YouTube audience and kind of already been through it. So I figured you can walk me through. When I stumble, you're there to pick me up. All right, man. You'll be the Jordan, I'll be the Pippen. That's how I took it.
So the question is, do you think that you would have started a podcast if I had never been involved? Like, do you think you would have been, I don't know, maybe do it by yourself or with someone else? Or like, was that something you wanted to do either way?
So if you would have said no, I would have still done a podcast. I was doing a podcast no matter what, because I felt like I needed to make content for my business. I just didn't know how to do it, and I didn't feel like I had the time in between clients to actually film videos every week for myself, like you do with your YouTube. Like I felt like it was tough because I was juggling like professional sports contracts with the Canadians and then starting this whole content package within the corporate world. So I was going to do a podcast, but if you would have said no, then my idea was to have a guest every show, like say like 4 or 5 shows in a row, and then repeatable guests. That was kind of my idea, is like have a rotation kind of go through. But you said yes, so that solved all my problems, because I was afraid that maybe I'd have to do this alone.
Well, doing it with guests is a good. There's a ton of podcasts that do that, and it's very successful.
The thing with you and I working together and working in sports and that, and especially having your YouTube channel, because sometimes if I am stuck with a topic, you'll be like, oh, I worked on this in YouTube. And then we can really, really dive deep into it. Where on YouTube, say you're doing a 10-minute or 12-minute video, on this, we could talk about something for 45 minutes. Because there is a lot of technical stuff that we can talk about, or tricks and tips that sometimes, yes, your YouTube video touches, but you can go even further. So that's why I thought for this, you were the perfect candidate. Why did you ever think of saying no to me? Was that ever a thought? Or like when you're coming down, exactly, you're like, why did I say yes to this?
Every time, 15 minutes before we start recording, I'm like,
Actually, you know what? I still remember is I ran out and I bought my mic and I was all pumped. And then we had lunch. And then you messaged me the next week and you're like, all right, I got my stuff. We're ready to start. And I was like blown away, because I thought I'd have to wait a while for you to go and get your gear and all that. But you were into it, right? From day one, you were ready to go. And it was cool. Like I remember doing our first mic checks. I remember testing everything out. You know, we got the same mics, we got the same setup. And it was so exciting, you know, and I still am excited. Like I will admit, it does not feel like work to me. Yes, I'm sure there's days where it's like it's hectic and you know you got something this afternoon, so we got to wrap this up soon and that. But it does not feel like work. It feels like, you know, it's just part of my life now. That's how I feel. Do you feel the same?
yeah, definitely. And it's something that I think when we started, well, I remember telling you, like, you know, I don't want it to take too much of my time because I've got the channel, I've got all these things that I want to do, and I don't want to put on like extra sort of, extra hours that I don't have, on the new project. So that was my main kind of concern, the thing that I was scared of. And ultimately, like, obviously it does take some time, like it doesn't happen magically, but it's not it's not so it kind of, if you do it in a way that's like a synergy sort of thing with the rest of my channel, then it doesn't really feel like extra time. It's just part of what I do for my brand. And let's be honest, you do most of the work, so it's not like I can complain about the time that I'm spending on this. But and you know, I mostly take part in the fun part of it. So yeah, it doesn't really doesn't feel like extra work so much.
I'll come up with the ideas now, but I'll send them to you, and then I'll send you an email, and you always take a look, and you always add your own little twist to it, and that. So, I mean, it is a good team. But when we did make this, I made it clear too that I would do the administrative work of this, only because I'm doing it anyway for my company. So to do a little bit extra for this is not really a big deal. And you know, you're writing your YouTube scripts, you're doing all that. If I was in your situation, then maybe yeah, I'd be like, hey, I need a little bit more help. But no, it's going pretty good. Now, before we wrap up, I got a question for you. Which one of us is more likely to go off topic?
Off topic?
Yeah. See how I totally went off topic there?
Yeah, well, yeah, no, because I would say literally off topic, probably you, but I tend to like ramble way too much and kind of, I go a little bit off topic because I'm talking too much, and then I loop it back to answer the actual question towards the end. So yeah, we have different styles of going off topic, I'd say. I don't know if one is worse than the other. What do you think?
Can you really go off topic on your own podcast? That's what I say. It's our podcast, it's our thoughts, it's our views. Yeah, sometimes I go a little bit off topic. I do try to loop it back in. But the thing is, I think I'm like trying to explain so much that I kind of get lost in the explanation. Then I got to loop it back to kind of show you guys where I was going with it. The other question I wrote down is, which one of us is most likely to say, I'll fix it in post?
I want to say you. I don't know why.
I think so. I think it's me too. Well, we both had, you guys haven't seen this, but we both had like coughing attacks. I had this bad cold last year. Remember, I was coughing so much when your thing, I had to cut all the time. I had to mute my mic. Last week you were choking at one point because you didn't have any more water. So these are little things that we try to fix in post so you guys don't see it going on. That's where the 3 cameras really come in handy. You just cut to a quick tight shot of somebody, and then you come back to the 2 shot, and then you go back to a tight shot, and you're good to go. You never saw that cut. But honestly, we're pretty lucky. Like, we have a good time. We're laughing half the time. There's not too much that we do have to fix in post. And the biggest takeaway is we're having fun. So, I mean, as we wrap it up, I just want to thank everybody who supports this channel. And even like you, Lonzy, reaching out, giving us a tripod, and that, I think that's a start of something that, maybe we can get some sponsors here and gain some new listeners. But the thing is, we're here just to, provide help, to shine light on something that we love, which is sports videography. And, this is 100 episodes, but it does not feel like 100 episodes. So I still feel like I got a lot of gas left in the tank. But I really, really appreciate it when viewers, listeners write in with their questions, especially when they tell us they love a show or they think something really worked. And that we really appreciate that. The feedback means way more than you guys think. And if you guys do write us, and for some reason we take a long time, it's just because we didn't see it or we're busy, but we'll definitely get back to you. We always get back to everybody who writes us. And I want to say thank you to everybody who listens and reaches out. What do you have anything to say? Add to that, E?
Yeah, no, same. And I'd say, like, don't hesitate to send us, questions or feedback, or like mainly like questions or video ideas, or like podcast ideas, like things like that. Like it's really helpful to know what people want to know and are looking forward to, so or have questions about. So it helps us with ideation for our content, and it makes us feel like there's people listening and caring. So yeah, we love the feedback and the interaction.
Yeah. And that's it. 100 episodes, 2 years. We're still learning, we're still growing, and we're still showing up. So
exactly.
Thanks a lot, guys. All right, take care.